Hey, what's going on Vash? I want to talk about, in a serious note, Blitzing 101. Let's talk about how to effectively blitz in a way where you don't have to blitz a ton. Yeah. So let's just talk about it. So I've been saving my orb assaults for this video. As you can see, I'm at about 4 million on the Red Star Rampage. I can get about 1.5 to 1.8 million per rotation once I'm done the first rotation. But let's talk about how we get to the first rotation and what you need to do first. So it's easier to do this with orb assault because I have everybody except for Blob at 4 red stars. I'm sorry, 4 yellow stars, not 4 red stars. That'd be great. But with that, so that it kind of throws off my rotation a little bit because I can't use Brotherhood 2.0 because of that. So with that, we'll go with Orb Assault. We'll show you what I do when the first rotation starts for a new Blitz. And then from there, I'll go into what I do for my Blitz rotations after that once I get to 8.3 and 8 and so on and so forth. I essentially just drop down to 7 and I start from 7, go back up. When I get to a point where I can't win a match guaranteed, like if I'm only have defenders and I'm up against, Captain Marvels and Sinister Six and some Ultron teams, then I will intentionally lose a team, go back down to 7, start over, and so on. So I normally use 26 teams for everything that I do. I do the 20 that I have saved. All my save slots are for Blitz, and then I have 6 other teams that I use and I throw in for either feeder teams for losing or other teams that I know will win. But to get started, I always start from the bottom of my roster and work my way up. So let's start with that. So from here, I'll show you how I have these arranged. These are a little weird to go through, but there's a good reason for it. As you can see, like through all of my stuff, I start from teams that sort of are okay winning at like tier 7 and work my way up. So it's like this team will win a 7, 7.2, 7.3, sometimes, maybe not really. Then defenders will definitely sometimes win at 7.3 depending on the matchup. And then I, start over again from like what teams are kind of okay winning, will win, definitely will win, that kind of sort of thing. Sort of win in the middle of the road, definitely will win, sort of win sometimes. And these actually, the two of these should be switched, to be completely honest, because this team, as much as they're good, they're missing Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw to really make them worthwhile. Brotherhood 2.0 are fantastic. These are kind of along the same way. Ultron doesn't always win for every matchup, especially at 8.3, but these two teams definitely do their share of work. And this team is a great matchup for Captain Marvel, Coulson, and one. This is just a powerhouse. You can delete somebody turn 1 and turn 2, and you're done. Out the gate, you almost delete 2 people. It's fantastic. Then we have on humans. Fantastic Four are a little unreliable for me. Sometimes, but then obviously you have Asgardians, and Asgardians are now my most powerful team that I have in my account, and then X-Men are now here. They can they'll win every single time. So with that, let's go and see how we're gonna start off Orb Assault. All right, so I'm gonna literally start at the bottom of my roster and just click through and get these guys going. It's gonna be real boring, but this is how we start. I won't play through every single match, so you don't have to sit here and be like, oh my god, I'm going to sit through 35 minutes and watch this guy blitz when you can just watch me blitz on Twitch. It's fine. I mean, it's not that interesting. But probably what I'll do is I'll just go through and showcase how I'm doing this and then cut to the ending unless you really want to see it, or I'll put timestamps below where you can just skip ahead if you really want to. So typically I'll go through and I'll just auto this fight. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't. We'll see. But these teams typically will go through and be fine winning. Out the gate, it's pretty straightforward. Not very exciting watching all of these, these low-level tier teams just go through and do this stuff. Sometimes I'll have to select and do stuff, but it's pretty much the only time that I ever use these teams in an actual match where I don't quit out and force quit is just at the beginning of a fight to kind of get up to my initial teams. So which is essentially, 6 fights. So I'll go through and switch this out. Go with this. Scroll all the way down. I need to work on Cable more because, you know, he's really good in certain situations. It really doesn't matter what fight you take because they're going to be punching down quite a bit with any team that you're going for. So nothing terribly exciting going on with all this. All right, so that's done. You got 4 more of these to do. And then we'll continue on and start talking about the Blitz teams after that. So essentially you just want to go at the bottom of your roster, find, you know, every single thing you don't have in a save squad, provided that we get some more. It'd be great if we have like 25 saved squads. I don't have to do this manually every single time that we have this, and this makes it way easier, especially to find my feeder squads later on whenever I have, you know, to want to feed something, you know, if I'm like, okay, I'm done, like this is what I have to do now. But anyway, this is unfortunately the aspect that you just have to get through first, and then you'll be good to go. Even if, so when you get to like closer tier 1, towards the end of tier 1 or maybe even tier 2, I'll start to target like characters I know who can make a difference, like, you know, medic there will definitely have some, you know, because they could heal a little bit, and just maybe that little bit of healing kind of doesn't work and it throws off the whole thing. Then you have to kind of work over with, you know, at the end of tier 1. Once you get to like tier 2, it doesn't really matter, but like at least at the end of tier 1 you want to make sure that you're at least advancing to tier 2. You know, that was only, you know, that was a tier 0.2 or 1.2 fight, but still. So we'll continue on with this. We'll get this one going. Let's see. Sometimes I just have to make sure that I don't accidentally select somebody who's not in a fight. Let's just, for shits and giggles, let's go Elektra. So this one I'll actually select something that might work. Defender. So there's a bunch of villains here. I'm not going to take defenders in the off chance that it does that. And there's Punisher in every single one. Okay, so for that I'm just going to use this one. Actually, no, they have synergies. So let's go here. And we'll just focus fire Thor in the event that they're low level powered by, you know, the AI, which might have like tier 6 abilities. Who knows? You really only, the good thing about this is you really only have to do this the very first time. Once you're done the very first time, you don't really have to worry about it too much, because you're going to use these teams for feeder, and that's about it. So with that, you know, like once you get everybody squared away and win these first 6 fights, then you're really only using them for the feeder fights, and then after that it really doesn't matter. So that's when you're going to start. You can pretty much auto the entire way up through tier 6, but I tend to like to make sure that I win these fights no matter what, because sometimes RNG happens, you get a crit or somebody gets wrecked and you don't really know, and that's just unfortunate. Things happen, like sometimes you accidentally run across an Ultron team at tier 1 and you're not paying attention, all of a sudden your entire team's been wiped or something along those lines. So I at least like to try to pay attention a little bit at the beginning to make sure that you have these. So the main things to take away with this strategy is that you're looking for stuff later on in these fights to essentially get through the next tier at an easier rate. So obviously, like the, you know, tier 2.1 is an easier fight than 1.3, or, you know, 8.1 is an easier fight than 7.3, because, you know, you have higher tier teams, and then it kind of resets the bottom and kind of slowly goes up. So it's like, you know, like a little step ladder goes down, goes back up, down, up in terms of difficulty. So you kind of want to look at your, man, there's Punisher and everything. You want to look at your teams in terms of what can win, as well as if you can get your teams within the 30k brackets between one or the other, you can kind of use that to your advantage later on to have a fight that's easier based on the previous team you won with for your next fight. So, instance, like as this fight's going on, like if you won with Fantastic Four on you know, 7.9, it's a 300k team, and you're as Guardians, you're 329k, you're going to have an easier fight because the previous fight was generated based off of the Fantastic Four team at 300k, and now you're going into 8.1 for more points, easier wins against a team that has 329k, slightly under, just under 30k. The 30k is the maximum you want, and going from there. So I think I'm pretty close to being done with these teams. I'm sure there's more in here that I'm missing. I just don't remember. It's like when they get up into the middle here is where things get a little confusing for me. Because, then I'll have like Kree Noble here. I have Ant-Man and Wasp. I have Nobu. I don't remember if I have Korath on a team. I don't think I do. I definitely have Mantis on a team. Let's talk about, okay, I definitely have that. All right, so this will be the last team that I use. That's not in a squad, essentially. So I don't run Kree at all, just because you can run that later on. Like when I get later on in the blitzing, I'll essentially between a team whether or not that I can actually win or not, I'll look at do I have a Kree team that's powerful enough that's about 180k, is like right around my supernatural teams. Like what can I use to get me something that might win there? So maybe I'll try something. We'll see. All right, so this team we're gonna run through. Now that medic is stunned, we'll slow everybody. And then once medic is down, I can auto this fight, but I'm essentially just making sure that I can get it going first. And then since Deadpool's got slow, we'll focus fire, and then you can just auto it. So yeah, the idea here is that you're going to want to, Black Panther's always going to do something. That's why, I didn't summon, with Ronin, because I knew Black Panther was there. He's going to ultimate, and then those summons could have fed into Black Panther. He could have gone through and used his passive to turn meter rewind himself and take more turns and so on. All right, so that's the first 6 fights, or is it 5? That's whatever. That doesn't matter. All right, so now this is where I'm going to start going in with my team. Now I'm at a 2 times multiplier getting there, or a 3 times multiplier at tier 2. Granted, still only 50k, but now I'm just running through and finding this. Now here you can just auto all these fights up until tier 7 really is where you don't have to really pay attention too much. Still pay attention, make sure you're not getting an X-Men team, not making sure you're getting an Ultron team, that sort of thing. And then from here you can just auto and just let it run through. Supernatural is on my list of things to work on, but I just don't. With so many other characters coming out, we don't really have the resources to do every single character, maximized without paying a shit ton of money to unlock them all, as well as gear them all up. So this is just really just, it is what it is. They're on a list, a long laundry list of things to work on. So from here, I won't bore you with the specifics of how this all works out. So what I'll do is I will cut to me showcasing each team, what I'm selecting in the beginning of the fight, and they'll just cut to the end. Okay, great. All right, so that team won that. So now we're going to go on to the next team, find out where we're at for these guys. So typically, Wakanda has a difficult time later on in matches, so I try to find teams that are slower than them, which don't have speed boosts. Shield tends to have that. There's also, these teams have some, anything that's not very good against debuff. Granted, Deadpool's good against debuffs because he clears them all in his turn, except for bleeds will apply first, and then he'll go through and clear all of his debuffs. So if you have a lot of bleeds on him, that'll work, as long as they're 1-turn bleeds, not 2-turn bleeds, because then you're just essentially canceling them out. But for this, then I'll do the same thing. I'll start probably with Thor, and we'll go from there. All right, now that fight's done, and we're moving on to the next one. Yeah, continuing on with just getting through to tier 6. That's all we're looking for. So the defenders are down here just because they're not great at winning higher up. So they're great for this. Sometimes you might have to drop down to tier 6 to find a team if you can't find something that works for any of your teams. So which is fine, because it's always better to win at least with your higher power team than at a lower level than it is to lose and drop down with that team, and then you're just missing out on points and everything like that. So with this, I'll just continue to let this go. We'll go with that. All right, that one's done. We'll move on to the next one. After that, I used to know all the placement of all my teams, but I switched this up for this, and I can't remember anything. So this goes for the same. That's a high Daredevil, so I'm actually going to avoid this team just because a tier 14 Daredevil will, since they're all villains, I'm just going to avoid that. Actually, I'm going to take this team. So you still have to kind of sort of pay attention. You just can't log in, hit auto, and be good to go. Mainly because like your teams you'll start to learn like what's good and not versus these certain teams and everything like that. So like I look for certain people who I know will not be that great. Like so I'll try to get other characters to attack like tier 14 teams. Like since we had Crossbones sitting there at tier 14, I'll probably end up cloning Groot for the defense up and depth brutes. So you still have to play. You still have to choose. It's not just a quick like, oh my gosh, auto and let's go, which kind of sucks to a certain extent. I mean, there are certain times where I'm just like, screw it, I don't care. I'm just gonna go for it. But at least like later on, that was a mistake because he had immunity on him. I should have done it elsewhere. I should have done it to Crossbones, but it's really not going to make a difference because it's lower level. Had I been higher up with had I been higher up in a different tier, this probably would have been not great to do. Now I can just auto this from here. It is a bit of a grind to get through all of this and getting to higher tiers. But once you get to the higher tiers, you kind of get an understanding like how the algorithm starts generating teams for you, and you can kind of start to realize how this all works out. And you're like, okay, well, I want to do this, I don't want to do that, and you kind of start to see where placements are. Because I don't really run into a whole lot of hodgepodge teams in the higher tiers. You start to run into a lot of pre-made teams that other players use, kind of like defenders, marauders. Sometimes you'll get weird combinations of like an Elektra plus like this team, but at a higher tier. You should be fine. So, but most teams like Hydra, you can just practically auto and be good to go, and then everything else. So another one bites the dust. All right, let's continue on with that. Moving forward, let's find something here. I try to go for, funny enough, I actually try to go for defenders teams whenever possible, just because you kind of know how they're going to operate. The main target is always going to be Punisher, and then Iron Fist, and then you just target Luke Cage, and then you can essentially auto with pretty much every single team. It's just funny how we used to all complain about defenders, and now all we want to fight are defenders because there's just so many variables going on with the game. So with this, I'll hit that. I'll take out Iron Fist out the gate if I can, and then it's just a Luke Cage and auto at that point. I do have troubles with Guardians occasionally, just because Mantis is the lowest of my Guardians at the moment. I should work on her a little bit more, but even especially since she's 5 red stars, but all right, that one is down. Yeah, if I had worked on Mantis a little bit more, that would have boosted her stats a little bit. Her healing would be better. There's another project for another day, essentially, because you can see, like, everyone else, even Groot, I could take him up. Mantis at 5 red stars, 5 yellow stars. I have enough points to take her all the way to 7, but I just haven't put the work in with her yet. So eventually in the future, I will take her to tier 11, and that'll be good. Because my goal is 65 tier 11 going forward for main groups and characters. I just haven't done this yet. So, and you can start to see we're getting up there. I'm getting at 300k almost. With all those teams plus whatever I have going on here. So with this, since I'm doing Sinister 6, I want to kind of look for defenders teams because they do well against city heroes. So we're going to go with that. Most of these teams you can auto against, but I still like to at least play it out until I know I can auto and then hit auto. Otherwise, I'm going to have issues with, randomness. You don't really want to, leave it to chance. You want to try to maximize the amount of points you get towards the end, especially in your 8.3 when you're at your S tier teams, as Tony likes to call it. Teams that are guaranteed to win that are guaranteed to win at 8.3, because honestly you want to maximize the amount of points, because after winning a few fights in 8.3 I can easily generate probably 100k per win. So, and if you can do that with 10 or more teams, that's 100k times 10, that's a million points. So that's ideally what you want to have happen. So even if you only drop down to, say, tier 7, you lose one fight, or you can stay at 8. If you still have marquee characters or marquee teams that you're working with, you can still win at 8.3, or that just tier 8 at a higher, maybe 80 or 90k, and it's an easier fight. So, but I only really drop down to 7 if I have still a full roster in which to fight. Like if I happen to lose now at 8.3 with Sinister 6, I would drop back down to 7 and continue on, because I still have all these characters that I can go with, that I know I can, especially if I'm doing cores and whatnot. No, not cores, but charges, whatever. So, and I'll get into when I use charges later on. The thing you want to do about a brawler's fight is you want to make sure you special with America Chavez, because she's going to punch for a whole heck of a lot, especially if you have a bunch of brawlers on your team. So I haven't quite invested in her quite a lot. I mean, she's only 4 red stars. After the rework, I was planning on working on her a little bit more. I can take her all the way to 7 yellow stars as well to make this team really, really good, especially investing in her passive will help give everybody a lot more health, which this team desperately needs. Now, everyone should know the turn order and how to work with power armor, but if you're new and you don't really understand how the team works, they added a change maybe a couple months ago, maybe 1, 2, 3 months ago, for the anticipation of Ironheart coming out. And so they changed the speed order of War Machine and Vision. Vision used to go before War Machine, so he would clear all the buffs, and then War Machine would come in and use his AoE, everything. But they've since changed that, because Ironheart will go before War Machine, put defense down on everyone. He comes in and does his big AoE and just wrecks everything. Unfortunately, unless War Machine gets slowed, he's going to go before Vision, so you kind of have to take that into account. The idea here is you want to obviously special with Rescue out the gate. I always save my War Machine special for round 3. I'm trying to do math in my head real quick. Mainly because when Rescue gives offense up, you'll still have offense up by that time, because you'll have 2 turns of offense up. You'll be able to hit anyone down if you need to. So if you're facing against Punisher, you try to put offense down on him. I'll also use, Vision dive bomb on people to ability block a couple people if I can. Obviously, even there's no buff, still use Falcon special here. And then you're just trying to get rid of Punisher, because he's the big damage dealer of the group. Especially if you're running into a higher Punisher. So this will obviously will take out all the buffs, put offense up on everybody. See, he's going before Vision. So if you're facing a team that has defense up, like defenders and whatnot, it's going to be a real pain in the ass, because you're now going to ult this into a defensed up team that's not going to do a whole lot of damage. You're going to be kind of screwed. Well, not screwed per se, but it's going to suck to face. So, all right, continuing on. Here's the Black Order. I'm not exactly thrilled about this team just yet. I am still experimenting how this team works, even though I have approximate tier 14. I'm planning on going all in on the Black Order, but right now it's I'm not exactly sold on this team. They're going to be good, but they're definitely they really are missing the Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw at the moment. I just feel like even at where they are, they're just not that great, not that powerful. Very squishy. It's very squishy. So they really need the protection from Cull Obsidian to really come through and do some stuff. But it's really cool to have, like, you know, turn 1, you can just come through here and boom, offense down on 4 people. You're good to go. Even though that was kind of, you know, real redundant with Deadpool because of his ability, but like having this right here, like, you know, you have this ability where it goes through attack primary target with 280% damage. If it's stealth, it'll do all attack adjacent targets. So this is great. So that should do a decent amount of damage, but he's not that high of a character yet. He's only tier 11, level 65, I want to say, maybe 63. I might be a little bit higher, but he's definitely gonna, his usefulness comes with his assists off the Proxima Midnight. So whenever I have his basic tier 4 and Proxima's basic tier 4, I actually have all of Proxima's abilities tier 4, and that's where he really shines, is that it's just assisting and clearing buffs. So they're gonna clear buffs, 3 buffs every single time they do this. So I'm just gonna do this, stun. Get the turn meter rewind. The team is quite slow at the moment, so if you're facing a team that's really fast, like Shield or, like, I mean, even that, I mean, that was pretty good damage and whatnot. But if you're facing like Shield or Wakandans, they don't do great because they don't have the speed just yet. I'm guessing we're probably going to see some speed up with Ebony Maw, but we'll see what happens when his kit is revealed. So. Now I'm just 1 team over my initial run, and you can see I'm getting close to 500k. So this team, like, this works out pretty good for me in terms of where I want to be. He's going to clear buffs turn 1. I don't want that. So it also helps knowing what your guys do. He's also going to clear. He's going to taunt. He's going to, you know, blah 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 blah. I don't like going against Asgardians anytime I can avoid it. Screw it. We'll go here. So I'm just going to play this out. I'm going to try to stun Ronan, take him out of the equation. Well, there we go. So now I don't have to really worry about it too much. And then I'm going to go for Mordo after that. And then, you know, I can just... Essentially, once you stun the person who is the most dangerous out of the group and try to take them out, whether it's, you know, if you're facing against Power Armor and Blitz, you take out, you know, Stun and Rescue or whatever. Really, when it comes down to just taking out one team with aim, you can just like auto it at that point, because it's, you really kind of want to face teams that apply debuffs with aim, just because they're really good in terms of, you know, clearing buffs. Like any team that works in debuffs against aim will benefit aim. So that's what you want to, if you're a new player, that's why aim is such a great team to build up. All right, that team is done. We will continue on working towards the next run, Brotherhood 2.0. Sure, we'll go with this team. Why not? So this is what I'm talking about. You get some weird hodgepodge teams like this, but sometimes it works in your favor. Again, for this, I'm just going to auto it at this point, because Brotherhood 2.0 are really good with synergies. Any of these like really good synergy teams, you can pretty much just auto for the most part. That's not always the case. Like some teams still need some help and whatnot, but like for the most part, you can auto these things. I'm going to try to get to the point of 8.3 and then come back and show what it's like a full rotation looks like and how I do it at 8.3, just so you guys can kind of see that difference of like once you get there. But this is just mainly a video just showcasing like how you start off your Blitz matches. I'm going to do another video where I showcase probably later on tonight after I get the Deadpool Blitz, or maybe tomorrow before I stream, about how that all works out. But for now, this is like what I do at the beginning of a Blitz to kind of get geared up for, you know, prepping yourself for that first rotation. You really want to try to save your charges for your second run. So after you're done your second run, you'll be at 8.3, and then you can start to use your charges, and if you really want to, your cores and everything like that. I wouldn't recommend using cores unless you're really, really pushing, because you can, depending on your TCP, you can estimate getting, I don't know, 3 to 4 times your TCP as a Blitz, as your Blitz number. So like mine is 6.2, so I'm looking at roughly to top 2K, I'll probably be like 25, 26 million or something like that. Just because that's what I can run throughout the day. So I try to go for like 4 times my TCP, and then just that's what I use as a rough number to gauge how well I can personally do. And then for this, I'll start this off. Once Ultron summons his bots, I'll just auto it at that point. Now, this team doesn't always win, so you kind of have to pay attention, especially higher up with Ultron, because he needs a lot of setup, but once he gets going, it's pretty much game over. Once he can one-shot one character with all his buffs on, then you're good to go. Some people ask me, like, do you care about Yondu being on this team with the additional summons that he has? No, not really, because if the summons die because they're weak because it's Yondu, they're going to just feed into Minerva to help with some turn meter and whatnot. So if somebody happens to die, she'll hop in and revive them and all that sort of stuff on auto. So this is where it starts to get tricky, because now you have, I mean, I'll probably end up doing this team, but now you have, like, look, this is what I was talking about before. Like, I'm at tier 6 now, and I got Ultron teams in here, so I got Aimtron here, and then I got a Captain Marvel in here in some weird version of, you know, BKT, Marvel, blah, 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 whatever. So I'll take this one, like a BKT minus, I guess, Thanos, right? Instead of this, so we'll go with this. Now, the nice thing about this group here is I'm going to try to take out Minerva as much as possible. Symbiote Spider-Man's ult, which will be available turn 2, will be able to stun somebody no matter what. And he was calling me. I'll call them back. Unfortunate that Venom got the treatment there, so Groot is going to dispel everything, so I'm not going to use his ultimate here. I'm going to use his special to bring his turn meter down a little bit and slow him. I'm going to flip that taunt so that way I can get past it. I can go for Minerva. I'm actually going to try to bring... I'm hoping that this defense down goes to Minerva. It did. Rip Venom. I'm going to try to go... Let's go here and try to do some damage to Rocket. This is going to slow Carnage, but that's okay. Let's do... I should have just done that to extend it to Groot as well, but it's going to take out Minerva, which is fine. She's going to revive him. But I'm hoping I can get to her... Oh, I didn't realize that he had a blind on, but it's okay. I'm going to be able to get through this. So now, since Vision is up, you can, since, you know, if you look at this, this is, it's unavoidable and cannot be blocked. So this is going to hit no matter what, no matter if he's blinded, no matter if somebody has evade on, no matter what. So I'm going to use this directly on Vision to get the stun and the slow. And now I'm going to, I mean, it doesn't matter because I should have probably just used Carnage's thing. But now, since he went down, I can now go for, let's go for, it doesn't really matter. So we're just trying to go for Minerva and put those defense downs on him and try to get that squared away. It's really unfortunate that that Venom died when he did, because you know, his basics flipping buffs are really good against these teams that keep putting buffs on. So I'm just going to continue to put defense down with his basic. We'll use Carnage's ult to add some hurt to this. He's going to die next turn, so I'm going to focus on Groot. Boom, that's it. Normally, I don't recommend using Spider-Verse against, or Symbiotes versus BKT, but, you know, it is what it is. All right, this is one of my favorite teams of all time. Like, this team just really is a lot of fun to play. We'll use this against defenders. So essentially, Captain Marvel's going to go and is going to get pretty close to one-shotting Punisher. And if she doesn't get killed from Punisher out the gate, then Coulson is going to do as much damage as he can. And just having Black Widow have this speed up right here is just fantastic. So he's done. This should put it on Jessica Jones and probably Daredevil. Yep. But see, he's 2 people down. They've only taken 1 turn. So now I'll just run through this. There is that option, and like, you know, he's gonna just run through and heal. I kind of wish Medic had a heal block as opposed to a offense down, but it does work either way. And then this will start clearing buffs, and then you can just auto this. I know a lot of people like to use CM Loki combo in Arena for like an instant, you know, absolutely getting wrecked turn 1 and so on. So we'll go with this. I'm also just going to try to take this team out. All right, so now with this, Inhumans are pretty much an auto win, but I still like to go for Iron Fist as much as possible, just to avoid the healing, because it's annoying. I mean, it's just frustrating sometimes with all the healing. You can get them all the way down, and all of a sudden like this, I'll just heal all the way up. It just negates everything you've ever done, especially at higher levels. And you're like, I hate everything that you're doing. So once Iron Fist is down, you can just, you know, set it to Luke Cage. Actually, I'll make sure that hits. And then good to go. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get Black Bolt runs in and uses, gets the assist turn 1. Sometimes not. It's very random. Now we're running into the instance of what to use with Fantastic Four against certain meta teams. Like, I'm going to try to avoid this team, so I'm going to go for Defenders. So as you can see, like, this is just the first run. Like, I'm at tier 6, about to hit this. So let's say, like, I didn't want to do this team. So my next team is obviously it's Asgardians. They're roughly around the same thing. So if I wanted to, I hit find opponent. It's the same exact opponents here. I could use the same thing. But if I didn't want to, like, you know, since this is, you know, going to be, it's going to be slightly, I should get the same teams with this. So if you see this, yep, I get the same exact teams. So the idea here is if you were to finish with X-Men and then you wanted to go to Asgardians instead, you're going to have the teams generated from X-Men here be the same as they would be for Asgardians. So essentially it's like if you were to, you know what, let me show you. So let's do this. Let's fight the Defenders team with the X-Men just for science. And then essentially the next teams that are going to be available will be generated off of the X-Men team. And since my Asgardians are within 30,000 points or power of my X-Men team, the Asgardians will be taking that team and be able to fight it better because they're just slightly within 30,000 points, and you're going to have a better time doing that. So that's essentially when I'm doing the later on fights at like 8.3 or 8 or something like that, I'm trying to find those teams that are like 30k, within 30k of each other that I know can win, and it just makes all the difference in trying to get those guaranteed wins with your marquee teams and whatnot. So all right, so now that the X-Men have won, typically I say this for later, but like if you need to. All right, so this team, the next group is going to be, you know, these 326 characters, right? So I'm going to go, okay, so definitely I can do Defenders. I'm at 64k. So I'm going to go backwards to my Asgardians. I mean, it's roughly this, it's the same points, but at least your fights are being generated off of your previous team. So I know that this will be an easier fight going forward. I'm not going to choose X-Men. I'll probably choose Defenders. Now, this may not go the way I want it to, just because Punisher is 90k, level 75, tier 14, but I'm gonna try. Hela should kill him and spread these buffs to everybody else. Yeah. All right, so now I'm going for Iron Fist. All right, so now I have one more round to do, I think. Yeah, one more round. Let's see. Fantastic Four versus what? BKT. That's going to be a little challenging. Definitely not doing the Ultron group. I could do symbiotes. The problem gets... You know what? Let's go for it. Let's try it. I never really fight symbiotes. Often I try to avoid them because they are very synergistic, and I try to avoid fighting synergy teams. So let's find out how this goes. Main target's going to be Symbiote Spider-Man. And of course he dodges. Let's see what this happens. Now normally I would ultimate here, but since everyone's got disrupts and defense down and bleeds, I'm going to clear all those. And we're just going to go for that. I was hoping for an assist. There we go. Okay, so he's down. Miles will be next. Actually, let's go for Carnage next. Just get him off the board. We'll go for Miles. I'll focus down Venom because his turn meter's next. Go for stun maybe. I don't have his tier 4 in his special yet. All right, so that was fair enough and it was easy. So anyway, that's the first run of the very first Blitz, and as you can see, like, we're at 1,000,000 points, right? So first run, 1,000,000 points, easy. So now you take that. Now I'm waiting. Now I have. It's been 50 minutes, so I have an hour 22 left since I've been recording. So now I'm sitting here waiting for this to run through, and then I'll go through my next rotation and so on. Now you may have lost a fight here and there. If that's the case, just continue on. You really don't want to reset back down lower than 7, because if you start to do that, the fights you're winning at lower tiers at like 6 and 5 aren't really the same amount of points as you would get in 7 and 8 and so on. So like you see, like even these, you know, and go down here to my lower teams to go to, you know, even these Supernatural team, they're still getting 40k at tier 7, even though they're only 184. It's like, you know, I can go through here. Like, I could fight this and be no problem. Like, this will be an easy fight to beat. Or you could start going to, like, you know, up here, you're getting 83k points at tier 7, mind you. Well, if we get to tier 8, this would be closer to, like, you know, probably 90 to 100 to over 100k a fight at tier 8. So that's what you want to do. And then once you start getting into that and you start winning with these teams at your tier 8, that's when you'll start using your charges here, and you can start going through and winning. And you get using, you know, winning with your top tier teams, your S tier teams for back of the letter word. You'll be able to win hopefully 3 times with each charge. So you have, you know, using 25 charges, 300k. You do that 3 times with your top 3 teams, you're getting, you know, 1.2 million. I'm sorry, that's 900k. I go for these guys here. X-Men, I try to go for Guardians, Fantastic Four, and Inhumans for the most part. So it's my top tier teams. And then also here, so like I'll try to run through my top, essentially, I'll go all the way down until about here, because these guys is where it stops for me. They're not that guaranteed of a win. AIM will win, but they're not, you know, they'll be at like, you know, 89 to 90k at tier 8.3. These guys will definitely be around the same. It's, you know, you start getting like a little bit less around once you drop below 300k, at least for me, for my TCP and my teams. But for the most part, these last 5 teams will be the teams that I'll use all my charges on, because I know they'll win at 8.3, no problem. Unless there's like some weird instance where, you know, I have a 300k X-Men team, and all of a sudden I'm facing like a 550 or 600k, you know, whatever. Or another X-Men team. It's like X-Men Ultron and Asgardians, and you're like, oh, great, awesome. So anyway, that's the grand scheme of how I go through my roster and how we go up to start a Blitz. I'll go more into detail tonight and tomorrow about the 8.3 rotations after you get to that point. But as you can see, we're at 1,000,000 points already, not having done much and just going through my entire roster. And that's really all it comes down to. So for people who are like, well, how do you do like 1.3 or 1.5 or 1.6 million per rotation? Like, I already went through it, and like obviously it's just going from 1 to tier 7.2, and that's it. 1 million points. Not that bad. Not that hard. So anyway, if you like this, leave a comment, leave a follow. I don't know. I hate doing the YouTube stuff, but you know what? It's fine. Anyway, if you like this, feel free to, drop a subscribe, drop a follow. You can follow me on Twitch. You can, take a look at the podcast. All the links will be below. Please, if you like, give me a thumbs up, hit that notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I upload a new video. These will be coming out. I'm hoping to try to do more YouTube content. If you guys like it, please let me know what you want to see coming up in other videos. I'm happy to explain some more stuff. But otherwise, you can feel free to watch me stream live Marvel Strike Force and other games at 11 a.m. Eastern every single day except Sunday, right here on twitch.tv/Vash. And also maybe I'll stream to YouTube. So if you like YouTube, I'll also do that too. So see you guys next time.